This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Everybody, Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. I started a little early today. I didn't realize. I got one computer that showed 9 o'clock and another one 8:59. So anyway, I apologize if I'm too early for you guys. Welcome this morning. Lots to talk about. Again, I want to welcome everybody who's live this morning on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and any of our podcasters that will hear this later on. Remember, you can listen to this in your car on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, all the podcast networks. We'll also be on Roku at noon today with this show. And I want to remind you, too, that we'll have Tuesday night, myself and my co-host, my guest co-host, Drew Ehrlich, will have our Major League Baseball 2022 preview. We'll dive into everything, all the races, all the division races. We'll dive into some stories, to watch, storylines to look out for throughout the year. We'll talk about the award winners as we think they'll be. I'm trouble with my shirt today. And just dive into everything Major League Baseball. So that'll be Tuesday night live right here on Roku, Facebook, Twitter, and all the normal outlets as well. 7 to 9 Tuesday night. And, of course, our Sports Huddle show on Wednesday, where we'll wrap up the NCAA. We'll also have Mark Mancini returning, hopefully, here about 10:25 today. We'll be glad to have Mark back to get his warped opinion on everything LA related. Good morning, Stephen Gold. Good to have you with us. A little rundown, guys. We'll talk NCAA basketball. Coach K's immortal, legendary run comes to an end. We'll talk about his legacy and that game, of course, which to me was an instant classic last night. Final Four, first matchup of Duke and UNC in the tournament in general. For it to be in the Final Four and in Coach K's last game, it's just an amazing thing. And we'll talk about the Kansas-Villanova game as well as the championship game Monday night, which will be Kansas against North Carolina. Going to be a very interesting matchup. Roy Williams, two schools. Very interesting. Good morning, Anthony Price. Great to have you with us here this morning. We'll also dive into a bunch of Major League Baseball stuff. We got to talk about the ongoing Aaron Judge issues. We got to talk about the Mets and the injuries and a trade that Steve Cohen nixed with the Padres. I want to talk about Brian Cashman and his ridiculous statements in my mind about the 2017 season and, why the Yankees didn't win the World Series. Along with some other news in the NFL, we'll talk about the Patriots trade yesterday. We'll talk about who we see as some possible breakout. That's baseball, sorry. Some moves around the league. Bobby Wagner moving, Mac moving to the Texans, trade with the Patriots and the Miami Dolphins yesterday. A little strange to see that happen within the division, but it's good. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. Good to see you yesterday at the Nose Pickers baseball draft. That was fun. We'll talk about Bruce Arians and we'll talk some other stuff as well. And Washington, again, supposedly not paying the visitors portion of the gate for home games. This guy's a disaster. We're going to start in the NCAA, though, guys. And again, good morning, Kenny Gifford, up on the mountain. Good morning, Carlos. Carlos, just to let you know, because I don't know if you were here when it was talked about, we're going to have a new happy hour, and Rick Sherlock has offered to pay for your gas money, and Kenny Gifford's offered to give you a room up on the mountain where Deliverance was probably filmed. Just kidding. I don't read anything into that, Carlos. She'll be fine. Let's talk. That's bad. Oh, God. Let's talk about, here we go. I'm looking for my first banner here. All right, let's talk about the Final Four. Last night, the second game. We'll talk the second game first. The games were, this game, in my mind, turned out to be basically, as I said, an instant classic in the annals of the NCAA basketball, given the circumstances, given Coach K's last game, given the fact that Hubert Davis as a rookie coach, first-year coach, I think, I may have the number wrong. I think he's the first-year coach ever to get, or not the first, he's the fifth to get to the Final Four, and the first to get to the final, or nobody's won the championship. I'll have to look at that a little closer as we talk more. And if somebody can clarify that for me, that'd be great too. But this game, to me, instant classic last night. The lead changes, there had to be at least 20, maybe 25 lead changes in this game. You had a Willis Reed-like moment for Bacat, one of the stars for the UNC team, going out with an ankle injury and then hobbling back. And by the way, we talk about short benches. We talked about Villanova being shorthanded. North Carolina's bench played all of 13 minutes last night. And the majority of that was when Bacat, if I can't say his name right, where's Drew, was out of the lineup and in the locker room. So I give credit to these guys for playing, all of them, 40 minutes. Love, who just had a tremendous game with 28 points and some big three-pointers, some big drives to the basket. After a really slow start for Caleb Love, he played very, very well at the end of the day, and was the reason, in my mind, he was the difference maker in this game. And North Carolina's ability to rebound. Again, 33 defensive rebounds last night, and also Duke's inability to shoot foul shots. I think they shot 60%, 12 of 20. And UNC was 17 of 24. Difference in the game, which often happens. Often. Now we got some comments here. Good games last night. I did mention Tuesday's show already, Rick, but thank you for bringing it up. We'll certainly talk about it. I got some frazzling going on in my headset. I don't know if you guys are hearing that or not. I don't know what that is, but it's terrible. There it goes. Now it's gone. Anyway, I did mention it. Tuesday night will be our baseball preview show, 7 p.m. live on Roku, live on Facebook, live on Twitter, live on YouTube. So we'll talk about that a few times during the course of the year, the day. So good games last night, as I mentioned. Yes, maybe, I guess we got a room for the Deliverance. I was on that one. Which one? The Duke. Yeah, we talked about this. I had the game going, I think, if I remember right, 75-72 Duke. This was just a great game. And for Coach K to go out this way, even though it's on the losing end, and again, another interesting stat, Coach K starts and ends his career with losses to North Carolina, I believe. Is anyone still alive in the TGI Finals? Good point. I did bring that up this morning. We haven't talked much about it because we're all doing so poorly, Rick. Greg Smith is going to be the winner with a total of 63 points. Nobody has picked a winner in the tournament. Greg, who is going to be our winner, had Arizona. Rick and myself had Gonzaga. Carlos had Purdue. And Alan had the Razorbacks of Arkansas. So nobody overperformed there. And Greg is going to be our winner. So congratulations to him. So nobody had Kansas. Some people had Kansas in the final, but not winning at all. I'm going to get to the UN. You know what? We'll talk about that game in a second, Carlos. I got a couple thoughts there. Carlos hears bacon cooking in the background. So again, as far as Coach K goes, this is a great way to go out. I mean, look, this was a great basketball game. I think, were there a lot of three-pointers taken? Sure, there were in both games. But that's the way the game's played today. And if you watch the ball movement, it isn't just guys coming down and hoisting up three-pointers. There is some ball movement. So there is some semblance to classic basketball when you look at, and the teams that move the ball the best and the drive and the kickouts, they're all designed to find open three-point shots. I get that. That's the way the game is played, right? 3-point shots, a total of 48 taken in the game last night. Not anything outrageous. I mean, there's games where it's even more. And again, Duke shot 22% from three-point line. So, the difference in the free throw shooting, the three-point shooting, and the rebounding is what really killed Duke last night. Now, with that said, they fought hard. They had the lead. The lead changed hands a couple times in the last few minutes. They had a chance to tie it. I don't remember the exact time left, but they had a chance to tie it, and they got a good look, and it just didn't go in. They got a really great game, I think, from Banchero last night. Wilmore had some big shots. And they do play their bench. I mean, they went only 7 deep, but they got 43 minutes off the bench compared to 13. And no production off the bench for North Carolina at all. 2 points. 2 points and 2 rebounds. That's it. So amazing. We talk about teams have to have depth, but here's a team that does no depth. And Villanova went into a very similar situation and was not able to compete, but North Carolina was not only able to compete, but they continued their dominance throughout this tournament. They have played better than probably, again, they're in the final, so I guess it goes without saying, but they really have played the best basketball. Maybe Kansas I can throw in there. I think the best 2 teams in this tournament are playing Monday night, which you don't always get. Let's see what we got here. What's Farmer Vincent Critters? I'm not sure. Well, Carlos has talked about the Big Apple. We'll have to look into doing something in that direction once we get him up here for a happy hour. Is it bad that Coach K to lose NC both? Well, is it bad? It's not good, but does it tarnish his legacy? Anthony, no. I'm sure it's got to really stick in Coach K's craw that his last 2 losses, one embarrassingly in Cameron, but listen, the circumstances that night in Cameron, and this is one of the reasons I doubted this Duke team, but it really didn't come to play in the tournament. I wasn't sure that they weren't ready for that moment in Cameron, his last game there against their arch rival, and they got blown off the court. They did not play well. This was not the case here. They played much better. Again, they had some difficulties from the 3-point line and from the foul line. But they ran into a buzzsaw last night. That's all. And certainly doesn't hurt his legacy. I mean, good grief. You're talking about a guy. I thought I had this up, by the way, and I lost my I had a little internet issue a little while ago, and I lost everything I had ready to kind of queued up to kind of look at quick. Look at Coach K's overall record, guys. Let's just take a quick look at some of his numbers. 3 years at Army, 43 years, at Duke, 1,202 wins, 101 wins in the NCAA tournament. I understand they play a lot more games today, but while that is a record you can kind of put the brakes on a little bit because of the number of teams that make the tournament, let's not forget, he broke the record for getting to Final Fours. He has been to the Final Four now. Gosh, I can't do the math. 13 times? Is that right? 1, 2, yeah. He broke Coach Wooden's record. And Coach Wooden, listen, I'm not taking anything away from Coach Wooden. Coach Wooden had an automatic berth in the Final Four nearly every year. Really had to win one game to get to the Final Four. They get some cupcake in the first round, West Coast. Because, again, then they really played in regions. They didn't send, the Dukes and the Syracuses out west. The West, the Midwest, or whatever, the South, the East, the Midwest, that's what they were. Those teams were from those regions. And the West Coast wasn't terribly strong. There'd be UCLA and maybe one other team. USC would be good for a couple years here and there. You had Long Beach State and teams like that would be good here and there. But they really had to win one game to get to the Final Four every year. Much different today. Much harder path to the Final Four in turn victories. Now. And 5 national championships. To me, Coach Wooden is now number 2. And we're going to talk about that. Kenny wanted me to start a list, and you guys can start thinking about this. We'll talk about it at the end of this NCAA segment. The top 5, or maybe we'll talk about it at the end of this segment. The top 5 coaches all time. I'm going to give you 10. You can give me 5. You can give me 10, as many as you want. But I want to give you the top 10 college basketball coaches of all time in my mind. And it's a very subjective list, obviously. Oh, I don't know how to get this off of here now. Good morning, Dave Guyette. Good to see you. So again, coach, to me, and I'll say this one more time, and I won't give you the rest of my final, my top 10 list until a little bit later here, a few minutes. Coach K is now the number 1 coach in the history of college basketball, in my humble opinion. There'll be many who think Coach Wooden, but to me, it is Coach K. And the new greatest coach in the league we'll talk about in just a few minutes. I said good morning, Dave Guyette. How are you? We'll talk some baseball here in a minute for you, Dave. We're going to talk about Aaron Judge and such, so save your comments up. We'll take them when we get into the baseball segment right after the NCAA. Carlos talked about UC riding the wave we spoke about. They are confident, man, and they are strong mentally. Carlos, so you're a big guy to believe that you got to be deep in these tournaments, and it does help you. But they're showing you that it is not everything. Confidence, momentum. And again, just a really good coaching. Hubert Davis has done a great job last night. Hubert Davis, and this goes unlooked. Duke had no timeouts here in the last minute and a half of the game. Hubert Davis, even given that, I shouldn't say that. I think it was within a minute. He called 2 timeouts while they were on the free throw line. They could have just let Duke, Mad Hatterish run around trying to get a basket because they had no timeouts. But he confidently called 2 timeouts in that last minute of play to make sure his team knew what needed to be done. Good job. There's Kenny's breakfast menu: steak, eggs, and home fries. I'm always hungry. I look at this stuff at 9:18. I've already had my breakfast, but then I'm hungry again. Keep sharing, though, Kenny. It's good. The win definitely helps Hubert Davis's credibility as a coach at the college level. Well, definitely look at this win. Just getting to the Final Four helped his credibility. The way North Carolina has played the last month and a half has really raised Hubert Davis's credibility. They love him in North Carolina. Roy Williams wanted him to be the coach. And listen, he's doing this with Roy Williams looking over his shoulder. Not in a bad way. He's just there. And his presence And I'm not sure. I mean, Hubert Davis may think this is a great thing, having Coach Williams there cheering the team on. And I think it's kind of cool that he's there myself. But having him there game after game, it's got to be, a little rattling at times for Hubert Davis, or probably was. Now that he's got his credibility, it probably won't bother him. Yeah, that's what I did say that a few minutes ago, Kenny. And Paul is absolutely right. His first and last loss was to UNC. So there's got to be some. Look at Coach K is a great guy and a classy guy. They've had some rumbles. There's a couple of books. Gosh, I wish I could remember the name of it now. John Feinstein, tremendous sports writer, has a great book about the ACC and when they were loaded with great coaches. We're talking Coach K, Dean Smith, Rick Barnes was at Clemson, I think, at the time. Jimmy Valvano was at North Carolina State. Dave Odom, I think, was at Wake Forest, and I'm going to miss a bunch of guys. I could probably come up with the rest of Terry Holland, I think, was still at Virginia. And it's a great look at the dynamics of that conference and the interactions of the coaches. Damn, I wish I could remember the name of that book. Read it on Kindle here last year. What a great book. You want to get a good look at the inner workings of the ACC, read this book. Read any book by John Feinstein, by the way. I don't care if you don't like the sport. A Long Walk Spoiled. And Kenny, you love golf. I know that. And some of the others, some of you do and some of you don't. It's a great book. To me, even if you don't like golf. And Kenny, if you haven't read A Long Walk Spoiled, take a look at it. It dives into and I don't remember the year, the Ryder Cup, basically. It surrounds that. And it's a story of all these golfers. He interweaves some guys who were on the Nike tours, what it was called at the time. I don't know what it's called now. The tour just below the PGA. And I'm way off topic. So Kenny's got Coach K a close second to Wooden. Yeah, I won't argue that. You can go 1 and 1A. You can go, one up a little above or one a little below. I wouldn't argue either way. We'll probably have some arguments over the top 5 in general, because I know Kenny's not going to like one of the guys I have in there. That's tough. Build a list of top 10 college coaches. You can give me 5 today. I'm going to give you 10. I did a little work there. Serious question for Carlos. Who's the quarterback in soccer? Well, we can dive into that. Rick and I were actually talking about this yesterday. I don't know. I don't know enough about soccer. I watch the World Cup. I enjoy watching the World Cup, but I don't watch it religiously, or soccer religiously. What I know about soccer, I mostly know from Ted Lasso. So let's, and again, this is a little bit relevant because in college basketball or any basketball, we've got a point guard who's kind of the quarterback on the court. Usually the center mid runs the play like a quarterback, but sometimes it can be the strike center. I thought it was the center of the center forward position myself, if I had to guess. But I didn't want to do that because I didn't know. So there you have it. Depending who's the most talented, ball control and passing ability. So they can mix the play calling up, it looks like, Rick. And we can talk about soccer more, and maybe that's something we should dive into with Carlos either Sunday morning or on the Are You Serious show. Especially, I believe, Carlos, you can correct me, this is a World Cup year, right? And if I remember right, the draw came out the other day, and the U.S. got a really tough draw with England. They're not only in their group, if I'm using the right term, I think I am. They're also probably a big favorite. They get England in the first game they play. Wouldn't it like? I agree, but I think again, I'm putting Coach K right up there. If we had a Mount Rushmore, they'd all be there. So we'll talk more about that in a second. Let's go over to the Kansas Villanova game. Now, we all didn't really give Kansas much of a chance because of being shorthanded with Ronald Moore out. They only went 6 deep as it was. And that's what they did last night. Antoine got the majority of the minutes off the bench with 19 points, but really only contributed 3 points. So this was another team that was relying 100% on their starters because they got no production from the bench whatever. Now, Bill Self did go a little deeper. He did play 11 or 12 guys, I think. Most of them didn't play significant minutes. Some of these guys were guys that got in at the end of the game, I believe, seniors who we wanted to get on the court. But the majority of the minutes off the bench were played by Remy Martin, who did not have a good game. And I've talked about how important he is to this Kansas team. And he will be important Monday night as well, I think. He got 21 minutes off the bench, only 3 points, and 5 points off the bench for Lightfoot. But the big problem here is Villanova, number one, playing shorthanded. They played game. They were very game all night. They had a lot of heart all night. They did lose this game by 16 points. I'd predicted an 80-68 win for Kansas. They just had no answer from McCormick inside. This was the big problem, besides being shorthanded. But again, you're seeing these teams all playing short benches right now. You're going to play your best players now, tired or not. And McCormick, they just had no answer. He was 10 of 12 from the field, 25 points, 9 rebounds. This was the difference in this game. Now, Villanova had a great run, I want to say midway through the second half, where they cut it to 4 or 5 points, but they had just used every bit of energy that they had. And from that point on, the Wildcats just pulled away. And even in that run, the Wildcats just kept making baskets. They shot 54% for 3 points and 53% overall. And what got Villanova back in that game is they hit 6 out of 7 3-pointers and did, again, as I said, draw that game really close. And there were different times they were able to make a run and make it a 2 or 3 possession game. And then it got out of control after that last burst that they had. They really could not keep up with Kansas. It's a very athletic team and a very, very good team. And they've got a guy coming off the bench who's been productive through this entire tournament. Wasn't productive last night. And I think Monday night, Remy Martin will be the difference in this game between UNC and Villanova. It's going to be a great matchup. I think it'll be a close game. They are the 2 best teams in this tournament. Are they the 2 best teams in the country overall? Maybe not. But they're the 2 best teams in this tournament by far, matching up Monday night. And it's going to be a great matchup, I think. I do think that UNC will match up better with North Carolina in the front court and have an answer from McCormick with some of their big men. Caleb Love is certainly a dynamic player. But I think the difference in this game is going to be Remy Martin coming off the bench for Kansas, and that's what's going to turn the tide for Kansas late in this game. And I look for him to come up big, while North Carolina is going to have all the momentum, all the emotion going for them. It's an important game for Bill Self too, but this is huge for Hubie Davis to win. If he wins a national championship in his first year, definitely the only coach ever to do that. So I'm going to pick a close game. I'm going to pick an 80-78 victory for Kansas in this game. And I probably again, as I've done a lot of times, and I've picked wrong. I should have just gone with my heart instead of my head, because a lot of times what I've been wrong in my picks is I wanted the other team to win. I'd like to see North Carolina and Hubie Davis win, but I'm not going to pick them just because of that. Let's see, we got some more comments here. Carlos, the draws are out for the World Cup. When is that played, Carlos? Well, you and I I do want to do a show, at least, devote some time to a show to that, so we can get people up to speed on what they should look for and things like that. So let's get a date for that, and we'll talk about it. Villanova came out flat and gritty. Yeah, they did. They fell behind 10-0. And again, without Ronald Moore, this would have been a much different game. I really believe that. And I'm not saying Villanova would have won, because Kansas got a lot. Bill Self had these guys shoot Villanova off the court. Yes. And they were, again, 13 to 24, 54% from 3-point line. It's going to be hard to beat that. And also they shot well from the foul line, 76%. Villanova was 8 of 10. They didn't get to the line enough, though. Villanova really needed to get to the line to have a chance here, and they weren't able to do that. Self and Jay should have like a boxing fight. Listen, I'm not a big Bill Self fan. I don't know what it is. He's a great coach. There's been always whispers around this. It seems like there's always been whispers around this program, and there's certainly still an NCAA and an FBI investigation looming. But he's still standing where other coaches that were caught up in this, at Louisville and Arizona and some other schools are gone. So we'll talk more about that. And Jay Wright, by the way, in my mind, I said this the other night, and Dick, no less an expert than Dick Hoops Weiss, agreed with me that Jay Wright, with Coach K retiring, Jay Wright is now the best coach currently in NCAA basketball. Jay Wright has done tremendous work at Villanova, and he is the least talked about great coach in this country, probably because of where he coaches. We got Kenny's. I'm going to come back to this in a second. Interesting with the Shark. I'll come back to that, Kenny, when we get there. That is a good list of coaches, and we'll talk some more about it. I got a couple surprises on mine as well. What else we got here? We talked about that. I gave you my pick. Time is it? 9:30. So I want to touch on a couple other quick things. I didn't change my banner at all, did I? We talked about Villanova. I think we're done there. Yeah, Coach K's run ends. We've talked about the final. We'll talk about this in a second. Here's an interesting note. Got some other notes I want to chat about in college basketball, but very interesting. We know Will Wade got fired at LSU. Had an interesting discussion with one of our really good viewers. And again, I don't mean any disrespect to John DeLon, who's a big LSU fan. He thinks Will Wade got railroaded out of town, that he doesn't do anything that other coaches don't do. Well, I couldn't disagree more. There's a notice of allegations. What do they call it? I think they call it a notice of allegations have been sent to LSU with 7 major violations. Again, this is similar to and caught up in all this other stuff. This is an FBI and NCAA investigation. He gets caught up in this, and he gets fired. And you can't tell me that every coach is doing this. Are a lot of coaches out there a little shady? And have there been a lot of shady coaches throughout the country? And might there be more shady coaches in the SEC than elsewhere? Yes. But you can tell me every coach is doing this? Coach K's done it the right way for 43 years. 46, we count his time at Army. When was he? And again, I'm not saying they haven't had minor infractions that they've had to deal with. Every program does. 43 years at Duke. I don't remember a major allegation being leveled at Coach K. Jay Wright, 21 years at Villanova. I don't remember any major allegations being leveled there. So there are coaches that do it the right way. So, a defense of Will Wade is not, well, everybody else does it. Anyway, now their entire roster is transferring out of the school. So their new coach from Murray State, his name is slipping my mind here. Hold on. What's his name? Oh, this is driving me nuts. New coach Mac McOwen from Murray State, as I said, is going to have to start from scratch because every single player in this team has hit the transfer portal or left the team one way or another. This is historic. This has never happened. I mean, this is as close to the death penalty as you can get without actually getting the death penalty in college sports, where they shut the program down. So this is if you're an LSU fan, you are looking at a major rebuild here, and it's going to be very tough for this team to rebound here in any timely fashion, in my mind. We got Kenny's. Oops, we got some more questions here. Rick Sherlock, thanks for the info. I'm trying to expand his overall sports knowledge and teasing about breakfast bacon cooking in the yard. Because of Cotter location, the cup will be during November and December. It is that late. I thought it was this summer. Okay, good information. The silent walk is every day, first thing in the morning. Most superintendents, the first assistant, walk the course early. I'm not sure. Well, a good walk spoiled. Kenny, the Feinstein book is the title really refers to the fact that a good walk on the golf course spoiled by actually playing golf, which it's kind of a play on words. It's a great book, tremendous book. Go on Amazon, you can probably find a used copy for $1 or something. I read everything on a Kindle now, so I can't get stuff for $1 all the time, at least not stuff like that. Will Coach K pull a Tom Brady and come back for one more season? No. Anthony, I don't think that's the case even a little bit. I mean, if you look at Coach K looks like he's ready for a rest. He's really, this is a guy who had to step away one other season because of physical and emotional breakdown, really. If you remember back in the, I want to say in the mid-2000s, he had some physical and emotional issues that he had to step away from the team for. I think he only coached maybe 5 games that year. I don't see Coach K coming back. And you're talking about 2 different personalities in Brady and Coach K. I don't think you'll see that. And now John Shire, who's set up for success because he's at Duke. And if some of these kids stick around, he'll be okay next year. But these are, it's tough to follow a legend. Look at what happened in UCLA following Wooden. Those guys, Gene Bartow replaced him originally. Gary Cunningham, or a couple of guys that I remember replacing him immediately, the years immediately following, and they would lose 4, 3, 4, 5 games a year. And the fan base was in outrage over the performance of the school. Well, I think LSU's got a solid coach. You got a guy who's been very successful at Murray State, and that's as good as they were going to do. And he's a good, solid coach. And now he's got a huge problem on his hands. We're trying to rebuild this LSU team. Yeah, LSU fired him and every player went in the portal. I don't know what that speaks of. Well, here's the reason the kids are getting out. We know why the kids are leaving. The kids aren't leaving because Wade got fired. The kids are leaving because major sanctions are coming down on this program. So, again, Matt McGowan's challenge isn't just the fact that he's got no players left, but they're going to have major sanctions. And how are you going to get kids to come in there? Pearl was another guy. Yeah, listen, the SEC's probably had more shady guys than anybody. Pearl also had Auburn placed on probation since he's been there as well. No, all the football players did not go into portal because, again, they're not facing major sanctions against them. They had guys. Anytime you get a coaching change, and you don't need a coaching change now for a ton of guys to hit the portal. And we'll dive into that question maybe on the college football show more, Kenny. Don't let me forget it. No, nothing major. Certainly didn't lose their entire squad. The 2 games of Auburn and Chuck Pearson got, Chuck Pearson got 10 years in. I think Chuck Pearson might get jail time too, or may be facing it. Coach K almost broke down with that USA team. You know what? He did a good job rebuilding USA basketball too. On the international level, it was down, and he took over a program which again was in disarray and losing the teams they had no business losing to. Not bad basketball teams internationally, but they shouldn't have been losing. And he had a first tough go around in international play, but then he got that program right back on solid footing. He did a great job. Frank Gore, who's as old as me, officially retires. Thanks for that information, Alan. It was a joke. Oh, I got you. Your ex-coach is there. Not in the top 10. Check again. I'm not sure. I'm looking back. I'm not sure I get the reference there. Rick, you can probably fill me in a little bit more. Any other news? College basketball we want to chat about? No. Well, I will touch on this. Big story here locally in the Albany area was Albany U head coach Killings apparently pulling a Bobby Knight on a player and putting his hands on him. And he's come out with a 5-game suspension. And I'm thinking he's probably got a zero tolerance policy. So he did a pretty good job turning this program around. Not a good overall record, but they performed pretty well, especially late in the season in the Northeast Conference. And hopefully this scares him straight. You can't coach the way you used to coach. And some of that's bad, right? We know that. You can't be tough with kids, but you really can't put your hands on kids. You can't do the Bobby Knight choking the player thing. This can't happen. Oh, Frank Gore. No, I think Frank Gore, did he have him in the top 10? That's good that he's signing with the, he's not number 3. Where is Frank Gore? I don't know how we got on this topic, but now I got to look. Let's look them up. I'll give you guys the numbers right now. But then we're going to move to we're going to do our top 5. We're going to move to MLB basketball. So if you got a top 5 coaches, put them up. I saw a couple. Frank Gore, Football Reference. Well, he does have 16,000 yards. Well, now I got to look this up differently. All-time leading rushers. He is not. Well, this can't be right because I just saw he had 16,000 yards. If this was right, let me check NFL.com. This should be updated. Really? You can't just give me the list? I got to click through? Jesus. Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders. Yeah. Curtis Martin, Tomlinson. He's not in the top 10. Eric Dickerson, Tony Dorsett, Jim Brown, Marshall Faulk. There's your top 10. Anyway. Kenny's got a good point here. I should have brought this up. South Carolina women's coaches gotten equal money for the women's teams. That's good. She's done a very good job. And South Carolina is playing today in the final against Connecticut. Gino Auriemma gets his Connecticut team back for the first time in quite a few years. A team that has been a basketball a powerhouse on the women's side for years in Connecticut has been a little bit, again, they've been very successful, but for them, it's been a bit of a down period. Yeah, I don't understand. They're not listing it as 16,000 yards, though. Every list I can find here, Alan, and we'll see what you can pull up, Alan. When we get to the football, we're going to go to basketball or baseball right after this top 10 coaches thing. But I'm not finding any list that shows him with 1,600 yards. Now, the Football Reference does show him with 1,600 yards rushing. So I'm not sure what the deal is there and what I'm missing. But I just went to NFL.com, and they do not list him in the top 10 rushers. So I'm not sure whether I found an old link or we're off base. Alan's pretty good with this information, so I'm going to let him track it down, and we'll go from there. So the top 10 coaches, guys, let's get on this. Top 10, I'm going to give you 10. You can give me 5. I know Kenny's already given me some. Let's see. I got to go back and find these now, though. Damn it, I should have done this. I wish there was a way for me to do this. Where's Kenny's list again? I'm not going to ask you to type it again, Kenny. No, I can't find the damn thing. Come on. Where are you? Here we go. There's Kenny's. Wooden. Al McGuire. You know what? Al McGuire will make my top 10. I can't put him in the top 5 only because of longevity. He didn't coach it long enough. Raleigh Massimino, again, won national championship. I wouldn't put him in my top 10, but again, I can't argue that. Don Chaney, again, I don't have my top list, but very respected, very successful coach at a Temple school that couldn't have been easy to recruit to. Dean Smith, definitely. Jim Boeheim, I'm surprised you got him in there, Kenny. I've got him in my top 5. Roy Williams, and the Shark, an interesting pick. And again, Carlos did like your picks. And did we have anybody else give me some picks here? I thought I did see some. I guess not. Anybody else wants to give a list? Do it right now. Here is my list. I'm going to give you my entire 10. And there's some prizes in here, which you're going to be a little shocked at. Maybe not. Okay, number one. Or should I go from the bottom? Number 10. Jim Phelan from St. Mary's, Mount St. Mary's in Maryland. 49 years he coached there. 830 wins across 3 NCAA divisions. They finally up in Division I. Just a tremendous. You remember him out there with his bow tie? Great coach, underrated. Eddie Sutton, number 9. His career didn't end that gracefully necessarily. He had some troubles at Kentucky, but he took 5 schools, I believe, to the NCAA tournament. Creighton, Arkansas, Kentucky, Oklahoma State, and he coached San Francisco for a little bit. He didn't make the team there. He did make the Final Four 3 separate decades. Once with Arkansas in the 70s, Oklahoma State in the 90s, and in 2004. And he also amassed 804 wins. Number 8, I'm going to put Al McGuire. Great player, great coach. Way down on the victories list compared to some of these other guys. But he had some great teams at Marquette. He turned this Marquette was nowhere. It was a wasteland when he got there. And he took over a program, and he actually turned down NCAA invites when he thought he was getting a bad draw or wasn't ranked as high as he should be. He went to the NIT and won with great teams. Coached some great players like Butch Lee, a great friend of this team, this show. Maurice Lucas, Jim Jones, Lloyd Walton. Just a great recruiter. He get these kids. There's a great story about Al McGuire. When he was at Belmont Abbey, he was trying to recruit a kid from New York City, and the kid was having a visit, and he took him to the North Carolina campus and told him it was Belmont Abbey. That's how he got the kid to come there. Now, is that on the up and up? I don't know, but a lot of fun. Number 7, Jim Calhoun from Connecticut. Tremendous career. Again, turning a moribund program into a national power in the old Big East. Number 6, Adolph Rupp. Now, Rupp may have, been a racist or not, or just a product of the times. It was a long time before Kentucky integrated, but this guy did win 876 games, which was 82% of his games, by the way, which is incredible. And he made it to the Final Four 6 times and won 4 national championships. I think Adolph Rupp deserves to be in this top 10 list. Number 5, Jim Boeheim. 1 national championship, but 890 career victories. Well, this list probably isn't up to date with the victories that I've got and where I pulled these from. But Jim Boeheim, to do what he's done in 46 years at Syracuse University in upstate New York, not a major metropolitan area, has been tremendous. And he's been to the Final Four a bunch of teams. And he spent, I said 46 years, but he also spent 7 years as an assistant there. He was 4 years as a player. His entire adult life has been spent at Syracuse. And he did win a title when Carmelo Anthony was there. And he's had a couple other shots at titles as well. I believe against Arizona, against Indiana. And he's played for national championships. Again, Syracuse University. Number 4, Dean Smith. I've got Dean Smith at 4. Great career. At one time, he was the in the Final Four virtually every year. He did go 11 times with 2 national championships, and retired with the most coaches in most wins in NCAA history. That's been surpassed now by a couple of guys. Number 3, Bobby Knight. For all of Bobby Knight's flaws, Bobby Knight was a great molder of young men, especially early in his career. The players who, until later in his career, or at least in the middle, these guys would run through a wall for Bobby Knight, even though he was a tough disciplinarian, and it got out of control, with the choking of Neil Reed and some of the other things that went on there in Indiana before he was ousted. But then he went on to coach at Texas Tech and had a pretty good run there. Didn't get any Final Fours or anything, but a team that was not known as a basketball school, he did very well there. Number 2, John Wooden. 27 years. He won 10 national championships, which is never going to get broken, probably. 7 in a row at one point. But remember, different times, 24 teams in a tournament. You win 2 games, you're in the Final Four, and one of those games was usually a cupcake. Much more difficult to get to the Final Four and win a national championship today. Now, don't forget, we talk about programs today, and there was Sam Gilbert, a very good friend of the UCLA program, did an awful lot of things behind the scenes, maneuvering to get guys like Jabbar and Walton into UCLA. And my number 1 would be Coach K, as we've talked about ad infinitum here. So we got some other Roy Williams, Boeheim, Coach K, Wooden, Dean, Sutton, Lou Carnesecca, great pick. I would not put him in the top 10. I probably was reaching, putting Al McGuire in there. He's one of my personal favorites, and that's why he gets in. Louis Carnesecca was a great coach, and that lack of national championship kind of hurts. It kind of hurts Louis. Carlos continues to pick Rick Pitino, Larry Brown, Thompson. They're all good coaches. They're nowhere near the top 10. Larry Brown didn't coach enough in college. He did win a national championship unexpectedly with Kansas in 1988. But John Thompson put Georgetown on the map. He would rank. Allen Wooden, Coach K, Bob Knight, Eddie Sutton, Roy Williams. Roy Williams doesn't make my top 10. He's, again, if I was going to drop a guy, I wanted to throw a guy like Coach Phelan in there, just for the tremendous body of work. I will accept arguments that he should be in there. I'm not insulting upstate New York, Kenny. I'm just saying, how easy is it to get kids to come and play in upstate New York and survive these winters up here when, Pearl Washington, Andre Hawkins, Carmelo Anthony, above all, Raphael Addison. The list goes on and on of kids that he could have gone to Tobacco Row, or it's much nicer, or out to the West Coast to UCLA. Carmelo Anthony could have gone anywhere he wanted to go. Pearl Washington could have gone anywhere he wanted to go. And Jim Boeheim was able to recruit these guys to freezing cold in the winter Syracuse, New York. So that's why I said it's not an upstate. Hell, I live here, and I'm going to be living here at least for another couple of years. Where I'll land is anybody's guess. All right, that's a lot on the NCAA. I didn't plan on going that long. Let's jump into baseball, guys. Let's jump into baseball. Big news. Let's talk first about the Mets injuries. Mets get the worst possible news this week. Jacob Degrom is now going to be out at least probably until Memorial Day. They've shut him down for a month, which means he'll need a month to get ready. So at least for Memorial Day. I have no reason to think Jacob Degrom is going to pitch any meaningful innings this year. And Jacob Degrom probably, in retrospect, should have really listened to the Mets' offers and signed a long-term contract. With his injury history, he's really rolling the dice. And he could come back and still have a good year and still had a big payday in the winter, but not good. And also now Scherzer has hurt his hamstring and is also doubtful maybe for his start, which would be the opening day start, I'm sure. So the Mets scrambling a little bit. They had a trade that was this close to getting made with the Padres, where they would have got Chris Paddock. They would have had to take on Eric Hosmer in his contract, which was a lot of money left, $50-some million, I believe, left on his contract, and nowhere to play him. And they were going to give up Dominic Smith. There was another pitcher involved, too, whose name's escaping me at the moment. I can probably pull it up right here, though. I don't have it right here. Anyway, but Steve Cohen nixed this trade for a lot of reasons, mostly because of during the bargaining, the negotiating on the collective bargaining agreement. It wasn't just owners versus players. It was also owners versus owners. And a lot of that was owners versus Steve Cohen, because Steve Cohen has shown he's going to spend. He doesn't care about salary caps, doesn't care about anything. He's going to outspend everybody. And he didn't like the optics of this trade and bringing in Hosmer and eating that contract, probably not playing him, and how that would look to the rest of the league owners. So I'm surprised that that's what he did. But Chris Paddock had a good rookie year, and he's kind of regressed since. He'd be a good innings eater probably for the Mets. And Drew's on. He can probably remind me of who this other pitcher was. Pagan is sticking in my head, but I don't know if that's right. He could have been a useful pitcher as well. But from my understanding, this trade is pretty much dead. And I did see Drew popped in. There's Drew right now. Good morning, Drew. Drew will be on with me. I'll give this reminder again. Tuesday night live at 7 p.m. We'll probably go till 9. We'll be live on Roku. We'll be live on Facebook. We'll be live on all our other outlets. Get with our 2022 Major League Baseball preview, and we'll dive into all the divisions. We'll do our over-unders on wins. We'll do the stories to be on a outlook for, and also maybe the major award winners. DeGrom should be traded. Well, you can't trade a guy who's hurt and has the injury issues that he has. They're never going to get fair value for DeGrom. I don't think they can do anything but trade him or let him walk. Well, I suppose you can get something for him, but Scherzer's hamstring issues are typical for him and usually temporary. Yes, but again, typical for the Mets. If you're going in there and I don't know who's the third starter now, Bassett's the third starter, so he's going to be your opening day starter. You're putting the Mets have put all their eggs in one basket. They're a win now team. They can't forfeit this season with DeGrom out. Scherzer's a great player, great pitcher, but he's 38 years old. We don't know that he's going to be the Scherzer. I don't have any reason to think he won't be close to the Scherzer he's been the last few years. But when you're 38 years old, there's no guarantees as a pitcher in Major League Baseball unless you're Nolan Ryan. Especially when you're a power pitcher. So there's no guarantees. $40 million, you're winning now. You aren't saying, okay, well, we'll wait till DeGrom gets healthy next year and we'll make a run. Because you're not winning with one guy at the top of that rotation. And the rest of the rotation is suspect. Hosmer is a worthless worm killer, and they would have had to eat that contract. He would not have likely played much with the Mets. I don't care how much he's making. He would not have been one of the best players to be able to play in there, and I think that's why Steve Cohen has killed this deal. Mets likely will be okay. They're about 6. But every pitcher in their rotation, and I'll give Scherzer a benefit of doubt. Every pitcher except Scherzer is a question mark. Bassett's only had one really good year. Carrasco and Walker are both injury problems. And now Degrom, I would not be shocked you didn't get 25 innings out of Degrom this year. Now maybe he comes back Memorial Day and he's the old Degrom and has a great season and the Mets go on and win. But this isn't a team that's going to be able to just say, pencil them in for the postseason. There's some issues here. They've improved their defense. They've improved the team. But again, the holes in those rotation, like every other team, don't get me wrong. The Yankees are in the same or worse position. And I'll get into them later and certainly on Tuesday night. I don't know that they're going to win their division. I don't know they're going to make the playoffs. This great solidifies bullpen. I don't know what that means, Carlos, unless I missed something. If you're talking about guys that can bring up later on, that's fine. Yeah, thank you for all the Yankee prospects. All seriousness, I don't think they gave up much for Trevino. We'll talk about this in a second. And I do want to move on here, but if you guys have more to talk about here, I'll talk about this right now. We can certainly circle back to the Mets and their issues, and we'll see how they're going to respond to that. The Yankees picking up Trevino's okay, whatever. He's at best a journeyman catcher, which the Yankees have now loaded up on. They've got depth at that position if they have nothing else. And there may be still moves to come during the season to solidify that position more. I'm not getting excited about Higgy's home runs here in the spring. And Higgy can't play every day. Higgy's a great guy catching Cole every 5th day, spot starting him here and there. But the more you play him, the worse he plays. So he cannot play every day for sure. And this helps, especially with the other injury issues that they have at the position right now. Pitching, listen, I've said this for years, Kenny. The pitching, defense, and clutch hitting is what still wins in baseball. You can try to change all the rules you want to change. You can have we talked about it yesterday, with Joey Gallo's of the world being the 3 outcome guys. You get a walk, a strikeout, or a home run. And Joey Gallo is maybe the poster child for it, but that's how the game's played too often, and every team plays that way. Not every team, but too many teams play that way. And that's how guys are taught to play. And that doesn't win. You find a team that give me good pitching, good defense, and clutch hitting. Those Yankee dynasties, the Yankee dynasty in the 90s, there was no guys hitting 50 home runs in those lineups. Good pitching, clutch hitting, good defense. Trevino is the best hitting catcher. You have an issue. Agreed. Agreed, Drew. I agree 100%. Let's move on to another topic here at the top of my baseball notes. Where's my other? Aaron Judge. I don't get it. The Yankees have offered him $30 million. And again, the numbers vary. The reports are a little sketchy, but by all accounts, $30 million a year for 6 or 7 seasons. I don't think the money's that big a deal. I don't think it's holding up really this deal at all. I'm sure the Yankees would throw in another $5 million, whatever. And I'm not saying, he can't survive on less. The years are a problem for Aaron Judge. Now, again, I think the Yankees should take care of Aaron Judge. He's a face of the franchise. He needs to be kept. The Yankees have a history going back to George Steinbrenner of loving other players other teams' players more than their own. They don't take care of their own. Think about Andy Pettitte leaving because the Yankees wouldn't pay him. Think about Bernie Williams almost signing with the Red Sox and taking less with the Yankees because they played hardball with him. Thinking about taking Derek Jeter and telling him to go out and find a better deal in 2007, I want to say. The year's escaping me. And he did. He went out and shopped himself around, and he came back to the Yankees. You don't do that with the face of your franchise. I get it's a business. But you pay Aaron Judge, and you keep him here. And for all, and I know when I get in the comments, I'm going to see Carlos and whomever else talk about injuries. Well, again, I'll say one more time. Eric Judge has played 5 seasons in Major League Baseball. I could throw out COVID and say 4, but I'll give you 5. Aaron Judge, in those 4 seasons, has a season that he finished 2nd in the MVP voting, 5th in the MVP voting, and 12th. Has he had some injury issues? Yes. He's also had 3 out of 5 seasons where he was one of the best players in baseball. And he is, when healthy, one of the best players in baseball. And he played 147 games last year and proved he can play a full season. And one of the things they've coached him on is not, look at, he's a big guy. Not throw that body around as recklessly as he has in the past. Great freaking player. Face of your franchise. Sign him. Stop signing the Stantons of the world, the Alex Rodriguez's of the world. I love CC, but they give CC all this money, but they don't take care of their own. And that is no way to set a precedent for the young guys. When you got some young guys coming through this organization, like Velope, did I say it right this time? True, let me know. Peraza, what are those kids going to think? Take care of your own. The guys we got in the Gallo trade are mostly AAA and AA, and now, you know what? I don't think they gave up a lot in that. I mean, again, you may like them compared to what you had there. I don't think the Yankees gave up a lot to get Gallo, but whatever they gave up was too much. I don't like Gallo's game, not even a little bit. Kansas City Royals are, and well, I don't know about right now, but when they were winning the World Series and going to back-to-back World Series, I think they won 1, lost 1, right? They were that type of team. I agree. The Astros put the ball in play, which we'll talk more about them in a second because I'm going to go off in a minute. Yeah, I know. Unproven, all of them. Well, Diaz, whatever. Again, that's not a sure thing bullpen when you're talking about a surefire postseason team. Drew Ellen. You could just say Drew, by the way, Alan. Would you put Tampa in that category? Good question. You can answer that, Drew, but I'll answer it myself as well. I do put Tampa in that category a little bit, but, they go too much by analytics and stuff from my take. Everybody does. But I'm not even talking about, the way Tampa plays and, they're too much in the analytics for me to say that's the type of team I'm talking about. Drew can agree or disagree. These guys have to prove themselves and that, I agree. They do have to prove themselves. Alan, not as consistently as Casey. Your answer about Tampa Bay and not as much speed, but they do have some elements of that philosophy. That's what I was saying too, Drew. But again, to me, they rely too much on analytics. And I listen, I'm so, as you heard me say yesterday, again, I'm the old guy here yelling, get off my lawn. I don't care about these analytics. Everybody wants to discount home runs, RBIs, slugging percentage. Everything's freaking, adjusted OPS. And I'm not saying there's not something to the OPS stat itself because it combines the two of the most important stats, which is on base percentage and slugging. But now I got to adjust it based on where they're playing. And, some of the WAR analytics is nonsense, absolute nonsense. And the other analytics with the exit velocity and, we read too much about. It's just too much. How about just watching the game? Here's the problem. When you get into all those analytics, and I'll say it again, that's all you're wrapped up in, and your face is, I don't have a book next to me. Your face is here in this chart going through all these analytics. You're not paying attention to the game. You're not getting a feel for the game. There's zero feel for the game now. Zero when it comes to managing the game of baseball. No, none. Oh, the chart says I need to take this guy out of the game now. It doesn't matter that he hasn't allowed a hit. Doesn't matter that he's got great stuff still. He's thrown 90 pitches and it says he comes out. And my 6th inning guy comes in, he strikes out the side on 9 pitches, but I'm not going to leave him in the game because that's his job. And I'll bring in my 7th inning guy and my 8th inning guy. And it's total nonsense. And you watch how many games, watch the games. Don't look at the analytics. Watch the games and see how many games are blown because a manager took a guy out who was pitching well because it was time for him to come out according to my analytics and my little book. There's my rant for the day. Velope, what'd I say? Velope. Whatever. I'm going to change my name to Keith Crosby. Nobody's going to get that joke. Sorry, I missed Carlos's thing. Yankee farm system doesn't rank in a top 10, and most guys will not seem. Well, that's why it's okay to trade them guys. I'm not so sure about that comment, Alan. Again, we'll talk more about it Tuesday night. You know what? Here's the thing with ranking farm systems and stuff like that. I'm never going to get to the NFL in here, am I? It's all crystal ball stuff. So rankings, look at some of the best prospects in baseball have still not become great stars. Things happen. Brian Taylor at one time was the number 1 ranked prospect in baseball with the Yankees. And where did his career go? I wonder if I'm spitting into my microphone. Sorry about that, guys. I have no idea what that noise is. I don't know if you guys hear that crackle or not, but it's driving me nuts twice today. I don't know what's making it happen. Maybe I'm spitting in a microphone when I'm all worked up. Anyway, it's 9th best, 26th best, 1st best. We don't know for 10 years whether these things are actually true, and nobody goes back and revises the predictions. Yeah, I agree. Again, you got to remember, Drew, that Alan's a Ranger fan, and he's very true to his team, and he's seeing them in the best light. And we'll talk more about it Tuesday night, but that rotation is far from proven. Who's the starting rotation? Who's the starter? The opening day starter proves my point. Good pitcher. Number 1 pitcher on your staff. The name's escaping me. He came from Colorado. I know you can put it up in a second, Alan. Rest in peace, Norm Crosby. He lives in me, Drew. You're the only one who got it. Did anyone pick up a prospect in fantasy? Don't remember coming off the board. There's really not a lot of reason in this league. I mean, you can, but you got to, you need guys to be able to fill in when guys aren't playing, Rick. But I've played in dynasty leagues where, we had 45-man rosters and you drafted a farm system. But with all the players here in Drew's league, there's not a lot of need for it. And Drew can comment himself on that. I mean, there's prospects if they're going to be playing this year, but you're not going to draft guys that aren't going to be in the major leagues because we're not keeping any of these guys. You turn the roster over every year. John Gray, thank you. John Gray is a competent major league starter. Middle of the rotation at best. Back of the rotation on a really good staff. I'm just saying. And you've seen Taylor Hearn and AJ Alex picked last year, and they did very well. Well, again, let's let it play out. But I could be wrong, but I'm still not seeing the Rangers doing a whole lot. Yeah, and I think when we talk about that, Drew, when we're talking about the prospects, I think it's the guys who have a chance to contribute this year, not prospects who can help down the road. That was my only point. John Gray, Dan Dunning, Martin Perez, Taylor Hearn, AJ, that's not exciting me. Again, if John Gray's my number one starter, I got issues. And I want to get on one more thing, and I guess the NFL might take a back seat here a little bit. Maybe I'll get into it with Mark Mancini, some of that stuff. I got to get into this story real quick. And Alan, please, I hope you can make it Tuesday night, because we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff, not just the Rangers, though. Let's dive into oh God, where is it? I got to dive into this quickly. Brian Cashman came out this week, and said that, if not for the cheating of the Astros in 2017, they would have won the World Series. Well, first of all, we don't know that. Second of all, I've said forever, this scandal is way overblown. Stealing signs in baseball has happened forever. Did they take it to a new level with electronics? Yes. But if everybody knew this, as everybody keeps saying now, we all knew they were cheating. Well, why didn't you do something to stop them? There's lots of things teams can do to keep you from stealing your signs. If you think they're actually doing it. I don't care if your catcher's got to walk out halfway to the mound and tell the pitcher what to pitch every time. What pitch to throw. So again, this whole scandal is blown out of proportion. And thirdly, and maybe most importantly, Brian Cashman, you have one World Series victory in nearly 20 years. No, sorry, 20. They win last. In 22 years, one World Series championship. One. And how many World Series have you even been to since 2009? Brian, shut up. Do your job, which is let's find starting pitchers who can stay healthy and don't keep signing guys like Shelby Miller, who was good for 2 years, 10 years ago, and you stash him in the minor leagues and think, oh, he might recover. We saw what that does last year. And we see what you do every year, Brian. Stop blaming other factors for your lack of success. Man, I'm a little worked up today, aren't I? God, what do we got here? It's tough being a homer. It tends to color. Listen, it does. And doing this, I'm the biggest Yankees fan, maybe not bigger than the guy Drew introduced me to yesterday, Jimmy. But I do believe I'm as big a Yankee fan as anybody else. But I will tell you what the problems are. And I don't think this team is in the right position to compete again this year. They corrected some of the issues. I'm as critical on my team as I'm as any other team in baseball. That's not true either, Kenny. That is not true even a little bit. Nobody's tougher on my team than me. Nobody. But when there's things not to be tough on, I'm not going to be tough on them just to be tough on them. And I will defend them when I think they're wrong. Yes. A little different. True, being a fan of the team has been, and again, I do admit that will color my judgment here a little bit. I will let things pass that I don't think. Look, if the Yankees had been caught up in a sign stealing scandal, and God forbid they should ever be caught up in one now after Cashman's comments, I would be saying the same thing. It doesn't matter. Just like the stuff that didn't matter with the Patriots. These are things teams do all the time. Exactly, Kenny. That goes for anyone with deep feelings about a team. Oh, gosh. You're right. I mean, yes, I have deep feelings, but I can at times separate them very easily. I will tell you that Bill Belichick has done a horrendous job with drafts in the last 6 years. Last year's was much better. But 5 of the last 6 years, the drafts have been horrible. Do you need a hair of the dog this morning? I don't. No. We'll chat about the Rangers, definitely, Alan. Yeah, look, I'm not saying this team isn't improved. I'm just saying I don't think they're a World Series contender, and I'm not sure they're a playoff contender. But we'll find out, and we'll dive into it. Well, there's my argument, Kenny. What's wrong with ceiling signs? It's only gone on for 120 years or 40 years. I can't do math. I guess it's almost 140 years now. How long have we been playing baseball? I even think, well, yes, you'll be improved, so don't worry about that. You'll definitely be improved. All right, we only got a couple minutes before Mark joins us. I hope Mark's coming on the video today. I'm not sure. I want to jump into a couple quick things. I'm going to talk to him about the Bruce Arians things, but listen, why is Colin Kaepernick back in baseball? Back in baseball. Why Colin Kaepernick is working out for scouts again. And I've said for years, while a whole bunch of people think he has not played in the NFL again because of his kneeling and his stance on social issues and blah, 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 blah. I have steadfastly said if Colin Kaepernick could help a team win, he would be on a team. And guys like Ray Lewis and most recently Deshaun Watson getting jobs and massive contracts with worse, in my mind, worse transgressions than anything Colin Kaepernick did, tells me he's only not in football because he can't play, not because of his social issue stances, which, I don't agree with. But he's not in the league because he can't play. This is a league that lets murderers and serial woman abusers and drug abusers and everything else you can think of, bad characters everywhere, including my own team, by the way, for those of you who think I cannot be objective about my team. We had a serial killer on our team. Nothing wrong with ceiling signs. I have to keep... We stole a few signs in my day, too. Road signs, actually. Dangerous riding around those in your car. Football. They watch the films to see tendencies, and then they use them. Yeah, that's basically stealing signs. Anyway, Colin Kaepernick, go away. What else you want to talk about in the NFL before Mark comes in? We'll talk about anything you want to talk about. We can talk about Bruce Arians kicking himself upstairs. Where have I got this one here? Bruce Arians kicks himself upstairs this week, gives Todd Bowles a job. Now, he says he's doing it to set up Bowles for success with a quarterback like Tom Brady and a chance to win as they brought back Fournette. And, they still got a lot of work to do on their offensive line, although they brought in Shaq Mason from the Patriots and a few other things. And I do want to talk quickly about the Patriots, too. I don't think there's any mysteries here. I don't think there's any conspiracy things going on. I think Bruce Arians, health-wise, and what's he got to prove? I think he wants to set up a long-time lieutenant. Todd Bowles was with him for a long time before he coached the Jets, after he coached the Jets. And I think he wants to give Todd Bowles every chance to succeed, and letting him get the job now will help that happen. And it also is good for Bruce Arians, who I'm not the biggest fan of, by the way. The guy sometimes thinks he invented the game or reinvented the game, and got to be the smartest guy in the room. And do I think Bruce Arians and Tom Brady had some issues? I do. But I think they coexisted. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady had some issues, for crying out loud. They won 6 Super Bowls. People don't have to love each other to work together. What do you got here? Oh, what do you got here? Sorry, I missed something here. He was the first to defy ownership, and that's why he's out. He's out because he can't play football, Kenny. He cannot help a team win. I respect your opinion. I'm going to continue to give mine, though. He can't play. He took a team to a Super Bowl with a tricked up offense and a really good head football coach. And as soon as the league caught up with that tricked up offense, Colin Kaepernick showed he wasn't accurate enough passer and could not be a full-time starter in this league or even a part-time starter. And you're not going to bring a guy in like him unless he's going to be your starter, in my mind, because you're going to cause an issue. And he can't play. I'm not telling you there aren't worse quarterbacks in the league, but why bring in a guy just because? Whatever. I guess I'm clear on what I've got to say here. Apparently, Casey Hayward thinks Casey Hayward, God bless him, Mr. Optimism, because I don't think that team's got any shot. Put him out there until they cart him off. Look, I'm not going to go into the whole Kaepernick thing with me. I'm a very, very, very conservative person. Very. But I'm able to separate the football from the other, political nonsense and the messaging that goes on. And there's things I agree with and there's things that I don't. But again, I'll say once again, Colin Kaepernick is not out because of any of his political beliefs. I don't think that's who he meant. Devontae Parker thoughts. I did. That's a good point. Thank you, Alan. Devontae Parker, the Patriots give up a 3rd and a 5th round draft pick for Devontae Parker. If he's healthy, I think his numbers have been deflated because of 2 things: injuries, inability to stay on the field, which we hope doesn't follow him to Foxborough, and inconsistent quarterback play in his time in Miami. He brings something to the Patriots offense that they don't have, and that's a guy who can go downfield. He can fight for contested balls. Patriots have nobody who can do that type of thing. They don't have that big, strong guy who can go down and go up. And they thought they were getting that in N'Keal Harry, and they haven't. And I think Devontae Parker has a chance to help this team a lot. And it's probably the best, other than re-signing some of their own free agents, I think it's the best move that the Patriots have made in the entire offseason. On offseason, it has me scratching my head a little bit, and I'm hoping there's a plan come draft day or it's these types of trades. And I think it's a very good move for the Patriots to be able to make this move and take a shot at Devontae Parker, who has all the talent and has the skill set the Patriots need to improve if he can stay on the football field. And I do think it's very interesting that these comments get made like 2 days after Bob Kraft basically put the greatest coach in the history of football on notice, because Bob Kraft is spoiled, like we all have been, by the Patriots' success the last 20 years. He's not been happy with the last 3 years. Now, they did make the playoffs 2 of those 3 years, Bob, I'll remind you, with inferior teams. So what he's basically blaming Bill Belichick for is their draft failures over the last few years. Arians was the modern day Mike Martz. That's a good comparison. Don Coryell, maybe not. I'm not sure the context you're comparing him to. I love the Martz comparison because Mike Martz was another guy who thought he invented the game or reinvented the game. And he's another guy who had to be the smartest guy in the room. Coryell, I don't, again, other than his philosophy was certainly different. And he did change football in a lot of ways, Don Coryell. But I certainly agree with the Martz one. Kaepernick. I agree. The AFC East is going to be very, very good going forward. The Dolphins, again, I have my doubts about Tua, but they've certainly improved their team other than the quarterback position, and that could, put a hole in their boat pretty easily. The Bills are still a class of the division until proven otherwise. The Patriots will be okay. Still got some holes to fill on the offensive line and whatnot, but I'm confident they'll do that and they'll be a playoff team next year. Don't know if they're going to be good enough to beat the Bills out for the division. And the Jets, listen, I'm not a Jet fan by any sense of the word. If you watch my the show I co-host with Dan Harris from the UK on Tuesday afternoons, talking New York sports, I think the Jets and Jet fans need to relax, man. You're not winning 10 games this year, and don't get upset when you're not, because in 2 years, this team is going to be very competitive. I'm not telling you they're going to win the division, but in 2 years or 3 years, the AFC East will be the best division in football. Yes, Parker's numbers, yes, agreed there as well. His numbers this past year were certainly hurt by Waddle's presence as well. And Waddle's a really good player, so I get that. But again, yeah, that kind of goes to the quarterback inconsistencies that I've talked about before. Still waiting on Mr. Mancini to come in here, so we'll continue our conversations. Let's get to your comments here. Bring on the California Bull crap. It's snowing here, so I'm not sure what those two things are related, Kenny. So I'm going to have to assume that you have been possibly indulging in more than breakfast this morning. So we'll give you that. Billy's partying like it's the 70s, speaking of the Jets. Yeah, Billy's all over that. Billy Pulver is not with us today. So it's quite possible, Rick, that he was at the Final Four. I'm not really sure where that picture came from. And I didn't check out his Facebook last night to see if there were any other posts that I might not have seen. Kenny. Oh, Kenny, you're the best, man. Oh, man. So I didn't check out his Facebook to see if he was actually in New Orleans or there was other posts or whatnot. Well, when he gets back, we'll get some information from him and kind of see where he's at. I'm not seeing anything. I got a message here. Let me just make sure it's not from Mr. Mancini. Oh, that's Alan. What Alan sent me here? What'd you send me, Alan? Oh. Well, Alan's got a list. Speaking of Frank Gore, he has got a list. And again, I did see 16,000 yards. It's funny. I was just on the NFL.com and they had him not in the top 10. But when I went to Football Reference, he does have 16,000 yards, which would be third behind Smith and Peyton. I can tell you this much. He's not the third best running back of all time. Just saying. Longevity, certainly speaks and covers up a lot of other ills. So again, we're not hearing from Mark Mancini yet, so we'll continue our conversations here. Again, back to the Patriots. I think they've done a good job. And I guess sticking with the Patriots a little bit, let's go back to the whole collar keeps coming out on this shirt. There's no collar on this top. Look at me, like I should be worried about my fashion plateness. That's not a word either. I just made it up, of course. It's interesting that Kraft would put his greatest coach of all time on notice the way that he did. He did everything but say his job is on the line if we don't get better and win a Super Bowl. So we'll see whether that's true or not. Maybe because he's still considered active. Maybe, not sure, Rick. I'll dive into this a little bit more and we'll talk about it maybe next week. Listen, Al Gore. Al Gore was not a great football player, not even a good politician, and certainly, his invention of the internet has been certainly very life-changing for most of us. Believe me, I joke. I see another top 5 coming. Yeah, next week's topic. And again, I'm not talking about yardage. I'm talking about the best, most effective running backs in the history of the game. There's our picks. Well, we can do it now if you want to do it. We can actually do it right now. And I'll throw it at Mark Mancini if he comes in. We'll do it. I'll do it on the fly. Jim Brown, Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, Earl Campbell. Gale Sayers. There's my 5. And we'll carry this over if you guys don't. So there's my 5 right now. Now, I may change that a little bit. I did it right off the top of my head. Gale Sayers has to be in the top 5. Without a doubt. If Gale Sayers had been healthy and played a full career, we'd be talking about him in every single conversation when it comes to running backs. Everyone. So you guys can feel free to comment on that if you want. I'm going to move on a little bit. I want to talk more. Oh, let me finish talking about Belichick and Kraft. Kraft's got to be a little careful here. He's treading some dangerous ground. Because Bill Belichick may just say, you know what, screw you, I'm out of here. And the Patriots, again, I said at one point we'd be just like everybody else, and 2 years ago we were. And he's building something back up, and you don't want to chase this guy out of here in mid rebuild or reload or whatever you want to call it. I don't think it's a full rebuild, one down year. They did make the playoffs last year. They were probably a year ahead of where they thought they'd be. You know, I'm not a big Barry Sanders fan, Drew. I mean, who am I going to drop out of that list? You can tell me Barry Sanders has to be there, but you got to tell me who's got to come out. Gale Sayers, to be honest with you, probably should be higher than number 5. So who did I say? Jim Brown. You're going to take Jim Brown off for Barry Sanders? Walter Payton. You're going to take Walter Payton out for Barry Sanders? Emmitt Smith. You're going to take Emmitt Smith out for Barry Sanders? Integral part of 3 Super Bowl champions? Who was my 4th guy? Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell, debatable. Maybe put him in there for him. And again, that was one that just popped in my head. I can probably come up with somebody to replace him better than Barry Sanders in my mind. And I love Barry Sanders. Love the way he played the game. I love the fact that he wasn't a showboat. I love the fact that he said when he scored a touchdown, he handed it to the referee, and he was asked why he didn't spike it or go into some histrionics. And he said, because I like to act like I've been here and I expect to be back. Anyway, who else you got to take out? You can't. You're going to tell me Gale Sayers, and I'm going to tell you you're absolutely wrong. Because I'm not talking about longevity and building up a bunch of yards. And Barry Sanders, again, if Barry Sanders didn't retire early, Barry Sanders would hold every rushing record in the world. But Barry Sanders, again, you know, he played on not great teams. I get that. But Barry Sanders came up small in a lot of big games, the few big games that those Lion teams played. And I'm not saying he wasn't an electrifying player, but, you know, just a little different. Chuck. Oh, Alan, you ought to appreciate this list, Alan. Any really good football fan should understand the meaning of this list. Well, John DeLong's with us today. I'll be with you in a second. Kenny's got Earl Campbell, Gale Sayers, Jim Brown, Donnie Anderson. I don't know about Donnie Anderson. That's a little Green Bay bias there. And Barry Sanders. So there's one who's got. So who'd you leave out that I had in there? You leave Emmitt Smith out. That's very interesting. John DeLong. Well, I don't disagree there. And you can factor those things in. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from Barry Sanders. I'm really not. So I guess in my list, you would take out John. Welcome, John, by the way. We don't often see you on Sunday morning, so welcome, and I'm glad you're here. Looks like we're not getting Mark Mancini this morning. I'm not sure what happened. Hope everything's okay. I'm not again, those factors all have to be taken into account. And I got to tell you, I watched one of the guttiest performances ever in the history of my sporting career when I watched Emmitt Smith play with basically a separated shoulder against the Giants with a playoff berth on the line. Don't remember the year. But but anybody who's a good football fan will remember that. And that's one of the reasons, right, that he was just a tough guy. Did he play behind a great offensive line? Absolutely. He played on a great football team, and Barry Sanders didn't. Am I discounting that for Barry Sanders? Yeah, probably. I'm not taking anything away from Barry Sanders. He's certainly in the top 10, and a lot of these guys are interchangeable. Again, this is just my list, and again, I can't take anybody on my list. Maybe Earl Campbell, but Earl Campbell is just a force of nature, and his career wasn't longer just because of the way he played and the way the Oilers used him. So anyway, I get the point. Allen, that's more than 5. Yeah, give me 5. I hope they're in order. Brown, Smith, Sanders, Peyton, Dickerson, Sayers got to be in the top 5. Sorry, I cannot put Dickerson. Who's Peyton? Peyton. Oh, Peyton. Walter Payton. I'm just looking at the spelling, I guess, threw me off. I can't put him in. I can't put Dickerson in ahead of Sayers. I can't. Campbell, Marshall Faulk. Yeah, different kind of running back. Roger Craig. Maybe he's in my top 10. I don't know. Edgerrin James, I think he was a product of the offense. I really do. There's probably our Mark Mancini call right now. We'll get to some of these other comments in a second. Good morning, Mark Mancini.
Hey, I wouldn't disappoint you, brother.
How are you, buddy? I was getting a little worried about you.
No, yeah, trying to get through this stuff little by little, day by day, but thanks for keeping the seat warm, my friend.
I'm glad everything's going well with you. And guys, I'll get back to you. Let me finish up. I had a couple of comments here that we were talking about the top 5 running. Since I'm doing this, think about this. I'm going to ask you this question in a second because it came up. We're right now discussing the top 5 running backs in the history of football, not based on yardage or years played. So think about that while I'm finishing up the comments here, if you would, and then I'll come back to you, and then we'll start our conversation there.
Okay.
Bear with me once, because I'm trying to find your banner here. Hold on. I got too many banners today. Jesus.
I'm doing the Long Beach Grand Prix next Sunday.
Long Beach Grand Prix. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So hopefully I'll get in maybe a little earlier with you guys.
All right. Well, let me know. So we plan
Yep.
ahead. I got a couple of other comments. So you think about that while I finish this up. Guys, I'm trying to get to you, I promise. Somebody's got Peterson. No. Allen, Peterson is in the top 10, but 11. Yeah, I don't think James makes it because I think he's a product of that offense. Emmitt Smith is Joe Montana running backs. Well, I don't know. Yes, he had great.
Well, I got my top 5 whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm going to shoot through these next 3 comments and I'll be right to you. So I think that was 95 or 96, the separated shoulder. I was talking about the Emmitt Smith thing as you're listening. Marcus Allen, no, I can't get him in my top 5. Emmitt was tough. Barry had rare talent. Yeah, our biggest issue is whether Barry Sanders should be in there or not right now as I leave you. I'll tell you who my 5 were if you want, to Mark, to get you up to speed. I was at Jim Brown, Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, Earl Campbell, and Gale Sayers. So
that's a nice one.
What are your thoughts?
Very good. Mine are a little different, except I got Earl Campbell as number 1. I've never seen a running back like him, being 60, and he was just a burly guy. And I remember the days of the Oilers and Steelers and Elway Bum Phillips and Pastorini and Bill White Shoes Johnson and all those guys. So I had Campbell number 1. Number 2, I might be a little biased, Franco Harris. The running back of the Steelers back then with Bradshaw and Stallworth and all those guys. Number 3 would have to be Eric Dickerson. I loved Eric Dickerson, with the Colts and the Rams. I think Dickerson would be up there. Number 4 would be Emmitt Smith with the Cowboys and Troy Aikman and Irvin and all of it. And number 5 would have to be Barry Sanders for me, because when I look at the Lions, they've been pathetic with quarterbacks for 60 years since I've been born.
Yeah,
they've had a good running back there. So Barry Sanders and I didn't want to put Billy Sims in this thing.
I don't think Bill Sims can get in there. Listen, the only guy with a short career I've gotten in there is Gale Sayers, because Gale Sayers was one of the he was changing the way football was played and his career was, unfortunately cut short due to some horrific injuries, more than one. I mean, he played with some of those injuries when he first ripped up his knees and whatnot. And I really think you cannot have a top 5 list without Gale Sayers being in there. Franco is getting a little bit of derision, and I kind of had a little derision for Franco too, because I go back to the Jim Brown conversations where Jim Brown never had any respect for Franco, because Franco would run out of bounds nearly every time he touched the football, especially later in his career as he was chasing Jim Brown's record.
Right.
Jim might have had some ulterior motives there as well, but yeah, great.
Hey, a little baseball, man, in the wins these days. We start the season this week.
We do start the season. I guess Thursday, I think, right? The 7th.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on. I'm sure that you let's talk. I'll give you a chance to kind of rip the Dodgers, which I can't understand how you can do, because they're obviously on paper the best team in baseball. Now I know they haven't won.
Well,
but go ahead.
So here's the thing. What I don't understand, and I look at trenches. I don't look at quarterbacks in the NFL as much as I look at an offensive line to protect that quarterback so that guy can be there for a decade. If you look at the Dodgers, and there's Dodger fans out there listening, they've been beset by losing depth the last 3 years. It started with Maeda and Ryu and Stripling and Verdugo to get the Betts thing going. But, Jock Peterson went. We've seen Baez go. Seager's gone this year. Kelly's gone. We've seen now Pollock gone. There's been a lot of depth gone. So the Dodgers don't have the depth. And when you look at that patchwork pitching staff, all they really got is Buehler. Urias had a birthday last year. Can he come back? Kershaw's a broken horse. There's question marks, with Price, with Gosselin, with May. When I look at the Padres, and the Padres are in the midst of trying to work a trade with the Pittsburgh Pirates to get Brian Reynolds there. You talk about if the Pirates get Reynolds there, they got depth in pitching anyway.
Yeah, Reynolds.
They got like 7, 8 starters. 3/4 of that infield is the best in baseball. You start bringing in Reynolds to go with Grissom out there in the outfield, watch out. San Diego's going to be a team to reckon with. And I think San Diego's going to – yeah, I think the Padres have enough guys to overtake the Dodgers anyhow. And the key ingredient there in this Padre-Dodger thing is Bob Melvin can match wits with Dave Roberts. I'm not interested in 3 National League pennants in a World Series that was won playing 10 games. Mm-hmm. Bob Melvin is a better manager than Dave Roberts, I think.
I'll give you that. I mean, I think the biggest addition the Padres made was hiring Bob Melvin. I don't care about anything else they did. They didn't have to do anything else, and they would have been a better team because of Bob Melvin being their manager for sure.
And on the other side of the coin, it's the New York Mets, Buck Showalter, Cohen over there spending money. Keep your eyes on the Mets. They got the front end of that pitching staff. They've already figured out to get rid of Familia to Philadelphia, who was a gas can where they blew like 30-something games. Keep your eyes on the Mets. I think the Mets and Padres could be on a National League collision course here.
Well, the Mets, to me, and we're going to have a Tuesday night, we're going to have a long MLB preview, myself and Drew Ehrlich, and the Mets are going to be a hot topic because, like a lot of teams, their rotations got some question marks. Degrom's out at least Memorial Day in my mind. They've shut him down for a month, so that means he's not going to be able to pitch before Memorial Day, and that doesn't mean he'll pitch that much after Memorial Day. Scherzer, well, where it was mentioned earlier, he always has these hamstring problems in early spring. With this short spring training and the question marks in this rotation behind those 2 guys, if those 2 guys are going to be dinged up at all, and listen, at 38 years old, I can't say Scherzer's a sure thing for anything. But so the Mets, yes, they're improved. And again, to me, Buck Showalter is the biggest move the Mets made in the offseason because he will change the culture there. And I will give them a chance in that division, although the Braves are still the team to beat in my mind. I think the Mets still have some question marks that have to be overcome, but Buck's the kind of guy I think that he can get this team over the hump.
Well, I think with Bassett, the addition of Bassett from Oakland, Walker, Williams that eats up innings, they got guys over there. Carrasco, if he can do something, these are guys that that can eat up innings too. They got bats in that lineup. if they can figure out a way to sign Conforto. I think the Braves have lost too much. When you look at the Braves, I think, Freeman was a big loss. Boucher was a loss. They picked up Olsen, but I think in last year I had the Padres and Blue Jays for the World Series. I think that's going to be a World Series this year. I think Toronto is loaded for bear on the other end. You look at that infield in Toronto now with the addition of Chapman, they might have the best infield in baseball.
Yeah, about the only thing I predicted right last year, and it's a big thing to predict. I had the Braves winning the World Series, but I did have the Red Sox finishing last in the American League East. So my predictions weren't all that good, except the biggest one at the end, I guess. Other than that, I was a little shoddy. So we'll see how we do this year. Let's pivot a little bit. Obviously we don't have too much time today, but that's fine. I want to pivot to football a little bit. And what are your thoughts on a couple of things, since we haven't had a chance to chat? Let's talk about the Deshaun Watson situation. What are your thoughts on Cleveland and the boatload of picks they gave up for him, the boatload of money they're paying him, although it's only like $1 million this year because he's likely to be suspended for a while.
Well,
what are your thoughts overall?
It's funny you brought that up, because I was on the XM thing. I was talking about it, and I used a thing like the Oscars last week with Will Smith, and I'm not backing up a slap or anything, but it's funny how the world works, where a guy stands up there. He's not making fun of a dress or anything, the color or something, what they're wearing or something. He's making fun of somebody that's losing their hair, a medical condition. And I thought the backlash would be on Chris Rock. But the backlash turned out to be on Will Smith, because all everybody saw was a slap, and they didn't realize what Chris Rock was basically derading somebody. You don't derade somebody because they have a medical condition.
Chris Rock also didn't know she had alopecia, by the way. He thought that's the way you cut her hair. But
right. But then he made here's the thing. He made the same comment in 2016 with the whole G.I. Joe thing or something. But
they have a history. Yeah. Yes, they have a history.
Yeah. So when I look at that situation, I can't help but look at this situation in Cleveland. If I go rob 10 banks and I stand before a U.S. magistrate, and the guy goes, "Have you learned anything? I'm a changed man. I won't do that again." Okay, no jail time for you, sir. Go right out into society again. I trust you. That's what the Cleveland Browns did with this guy. They basically took his word that he was a changed man. The problem was there's 22 civil suits coming with this thing too. And Andre Tomei, the wife of Jim Tomei, said, we're not going to sign up for the Cleveland Brown tickets. The Cleveland Browns are going to feel a backlash. This is going to be bigger than the Michael Vick thing with the dog issue. This is something that they should have waited it out. They're looking at talent. They're not looking at character. And they think the guy has changed because he said, well, I'm a changed guy. 22 women aren't making up something. Maybe one or two, maybe three I'll give you, right, but I'm not giving you 22. This is a big thing, and this guy's going to pay a lot of money, and who knows what's going to happen. The NFL is going to suspend him. That's for darn sure.
Oh, they definitely are. That's why the contract was written up to pay him $1 million this year, so they wasn't going to lose that much. Even that's got some protections to it. So, again, you and I are on the same page here, because I've been going off for 3 weeks now about the fact that character doesn't seem to matter to any of these teams anymore. This is a league full of, and I go back to, Deflategate, right? And I talked then that this is a league that doesn't care about having murderers and woman abusers and drug addicts and everything else amongst their midst. And we welcome it with open arms, but don't fool with the footballs. I mean, because then we're going to suspend your ass. I mean,
right. No, exactly. And that's the problem. The Cleveland Browns need to change their name to the Cleveland Clowns, because I don't know if the wife of these guys went around and said, hey, listen, here's some settlement checks. Don't worry about it. But these civil cases are coming to Cleveland, so they don't go away. And that's the baggage you're going to get with Deshaun Watson. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think this. Look, if I'm a Browns fan, I don't get this. I mean, I did a vlog on this a couple of weeks ago, I guess a couple weeks ago now, and I had the comments were kind of half and half, right? So I see the Browns fans are split on this. I was getting called a racist and everything else by some people who are defending him, but whatever. I mean, I just call it like I see it. It doesn't matter whether he's white or black. I mean, the guy is charged. And again, I kept saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. If it's one person or two people, I might give him the benefit of the doubt that it's a he said, she said thing. But 22 people is a serial issue. And
so I got ripped on ripping the Miami Dolphins, and I said, you haven't had a quarterback down there since Dan Marino, and the Miami faithful are trying to defend themselves. I said, sir, call back later. You're like the Chicago Bears. They haven't had a quarterback since Jim McMahon.
Great. Rick Sherlock, and some of the people, by the way, have welcomed you back here and send their best wishes to you.
Thank you, my brothers and sisters.
And certainly send their best wishes to your family. So Rick's talking about, again, Watson. They already knew he'd be suspended. Yes, we knew that. So one other topic I want to touch with you on before we run out of time here, Mark, is the Tampa Bay situation. What's your take on Arians kicking himself upstairs and elevating Todd Bowles, a loyal lieutenant for Arians, both before and after his tenure with the New York Jets? I'll
tell you one thing. To finish up on that quarterback thing, Baker Mayfield will be in Pittsburgh. Trubinsky will back him up, and they'll get rid of Mason Rudolph there. That is give or take in a few weeks. But on the Tampa Bay issue, Arians had to go. This dude was like Sergeant Carter and Gomer Pyle, man. The Bucs are better off with Bowles. Yep. They'll have consistency. The NFC is garbage anyhow, but when you look at it, that's why Aaron Rodgers decided to stay in the league. Bobby Wagner moved up in the division. So this Tampa Bay is going to be there. It's going to be who plays Tampa. I don't think Stafford can match Brady, but I like the move. And they got rid of Arians. Whether he thinks he moved up or not to open up a door, he was forced out once Brady decided to come back.
That's possible. I don't know if look at Brady and Arians often weren't on the same page, but Brady and Belichick often had issues as well, and they certainly worked well for 20 years. I think they could have worked it out. I think this, and again, I'm a big believer in the simplest answer is almost always the right one. I think Bruce Arians kicked himself upstairs because he wants to give Todd Bowles a chance to succeed, and that best chance he has is with Tom Brady as his quarterback, not after Tom Brady's gone. So I think that's why he did this and did it now. And Todd Bowles will have a chance to succeed where he may not have otherwise.
Well, not only that, where there's smoke, like you said, there's fire. Arians seems to create problems wherever he goes and leaves and stuff. I remember when he left Pittsburgh, and I think he went down to Tennessee, and then we found that in Arizona. So who knows? And now it's Tampa. So I'm not a firm believer of Bruce Arians. I never was a big fan of him anyhow as a coach. So, but he won the Super Bowl, and I think the Bucs are in better shape right now moving forward.
Yeah, I'm going to circle back real quick. We only got like a minute, but John DeLon, again, John's a very loyal viewer, and I'm glad he is participating, but I can't buy this one. He says, any lawyer will tell you a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich. And if the grand jury let him go, there's nothing to the charges. I don't buy that.
I'm not buying that either.
Just because they have physical evidence doesn't mean nothing happened, right?
Yeah. It's called a black and white area. There's no gray areas. And just because one thing's released in court, those civil suits aren't going away.
Agreed. All right, Mark, I'm going to run out of time here in a second. I got to let you go. We'll catch you on the Philly show. Give us a real quick plug in 20 seconds if you can. So I can.
Yeah, the Philly show. Bill North will be on, next week. We're doing another tape show this week. And also Rick Riley. You remember Rick Riley?
I've been trying to get Rick Riley on my show forever. Yes,
we got to get him for you, brother.
Do that.
I love you.
Tune in, Mark. Thanks for being with me today. Have a great Sunday.
You too.
And let me know about next week. All right, guys. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk. We got to wrap it up before I can't share this show at over the 2-hour mark. So thanks for all your comments today. Whether I agree with you or disagree with you, I love the input, guys. So Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk right here on Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Thanks you all for tuning in. We'll see you next week with our stream of consciousness. Have a great Sunday.